time about how a stranger tried to trick me into joining a swingers club. I woke up late one morning for class and I was in a rush. I threw on a hoodie and some leggings and ran out of the house looking like a mess. When I got to my car, I noticed it was raining outside, but despite this, I was still speeding trying to make it on time. This idea turned out to be as bad as it sounds, and I ended up rear-ending an SUV. I was super broke at the time and didn't have money to pay any sort of deductible. The guy had introduced himself as John and made sure that I was okay. To my surprise, he acted like it was no big deal and told me not to worry about the small amount of damage. He immediately got off topic and asked me if I'd be interested in going to a women empowerment seminar that he was hosting. When I politely declined, he told me that he'd only forget about the damage to his SUV if I attended one of the classes. He started ranting about how he's trying to help people and empower women and explained that he's trying to expand his classes. I agreed and he gave me a flyer with the information. I showed up late to a meeting and discovered pretty quickly that it wasn't as innocent as John advertised. Everyone there seemed a bit off, and John was going over various techniques of how to intimately empower women. I also noticed the people I was sitting next to were giving me intimate looks. It only got weirder from here. Part 2 of how a stranger tried to trick me into joining a swingers club. John told me the class was all about empowering women, but this wasn't what I had in mind. I finally got up to leave and John immediately noticed. He saw me in the small audience and told the rest of the class to welcome me and explained how I agreed to attend one session. All eyes were on me at this point, so I decided to sit back down and put the attention back on the instructor. He then continued explaining various methods on how to intimately empower women in couples. Next, he picked two people, a man and a woman, to come up to the front of the class to demonstrate. It was kind of like a train wreck that I didn't want to see, but I couldn't look away. At the end of the class, John led us to another room where full-blown activities were going on, if you know what I mean. That's when it finally hit me that this was some type of swingers club. I immediately slid out from the crowd and headed towards the door. That's when John caught up with me and handed me a flyer for the next event. I went home in disbelief and told my roommate about what just happened. I told her about the car wreck, how I got tricked into going to this crazy class, and about that weirdo John. Her reaction was the exact opposite of what I thought it would be. She told me it sounded cool and asked for the flyer. She ended up going to the next class with her boyfriend and is now a regular with John's group. Storytime about my roommate's crazy girlfriend. I'm a lesbian living with my good friend who's a guy. I own the apartment and rent out the room to him. A month ago, he met a girl online and they started dating. She's constantly at our place and I'll be honest, I don't like her. She's always been incredibly rude and standoffish towards me. I eventually learned that it's because she thought I had a thing for my roomie even after he told her I was gay, to which she replied that I don't look gay. A few weeks ago at a kickback at our place, I pulled her aside telling her that I really am gay and I hope that we could be friends. She seemed to take this very well and was overly friendly with me for the rest of the night. The next day, my roommate wanted to talk to me saying that his girlfriend feels uncomfortable around me after I drunkenly hit on her. What? I wasn't drunk at all and I'm not attracted to her whatsoever. I explained to my roommate what really happened and he was skeptical but took my word for it, chalking it up to a miscommunication. A week later, we had another kickback and his girlfriend was there, of course. I was cordial but stayed away so another miscommunication wouldn't happen. Towards the end of the night, another friend said to me, "Dude, what's going on? She's telling everyone that you've been hitting on her all night." I was pissed off and went up to her in front of everyone saying, "What the hell's going on? Why are you spewing lies about me hitting on you to all my friends?" Part 2 of my roommate's crazy girlfriend. She stared at me, unable to respond. Then I said, "Just because I'm gay doesn't mean that I'm into you. Trust me, I'm not the least bit interested in you." She started sobbing and spewing BS, so I kicked her out and told her that she's not welcome anymore for making me uncomfortable in my own apartment. Her and my roommate both left, and he was super pissed at me. He didn't come back for a while, but I got some angry texts. However, I stood my ground about her not being welcome anymore. I told him he was free to stay or move out as he pleases. Most of her friends were on my side. Nearly a week later, my roommate returned home and he was giving me the silent treatment. I figured I'd just leave him alone and let him get over it. Then his girlfriend started calling me and demanding that I give the phone to him because he apparently wasn't speaking to her. I told her to kick rocks and that I wasn't getting in their business anymore. Soon after, my roommate finally started talking to me again. Turns out, they got into a huge blowout fight and his girlfriend admitted that she wanted me to flirt with her just to prove that she could pull a lesbian. He told her that was messed up and then broke up with her on the spot. She wouldn't stop blowing up our phones for weeks until I finally blocked her number. It's been a few months and my roommate moved out. We're definitely not as close, but we're still good friends. His ex-girlfriend recently came out as bisexual on social media. How ironic.
Never in my life have I had to deal with this. So I go to the bar to try to order a beer. Okay? And I give her my ID. I give her my ID. And she goes, "Oh, we don't serve your kind here." Excuse me? Because I do a little of this with other ladies? She's like, "Oh no, I mean, I want boxes too." And then, "Well, what do you mean your kind?" She's like, "You're a Sagittarius." Oh, okay. Patricia, you Sagophobe bitch. So I didn't need the extra carbs anyway. It's hot girl summer.
I worked at a jewelry store in a mall close to my community college, and while my time there was short, I have experienced one person returning an engagement ring. It was the week of Mother's Day, and he was the first person I was able to sell diamonds to since I had completed my diamond certification course, or whatever you call it. He told my boss and I that he wanted to propose to his girlfriend, who also happens to be the mother of his 3-year-old son. Being my first customer, I put extra effort to make sure we found the exact ring he wanted. After searching for hours, he picked out the diamond that was a specialty diamond to the store, kind of like how Case has a Leo diamond. We wished him luck and never saw him again until a month later. He walked into the store and asked to speak to my manager. They were talking for about 10 minutes and my boss proceeds to grab his shoulder because it looks like he was about to cry. And then he started the engagement ring return. After he left, I asked my boss what happened. Come to find out, his fiancée had said yes, but then I guess guilt started to settle in. She told him she wasn't sure if his son was actually his. Worst part of it all is he helped raise the child from day one and even involved him in the proposal.
Storytime about how my husband accidentally told me that he was cheating on me. So just some background information. My husband and I got engaged 2 years ago. And this whole situation happened a month after we got married. So fast forward, it's a Sunday morning. Well, usually every week on Sunday, I clean the whole house. So I woke up, went into the bathroom to take my ring off, and I could not get it off. Mind you, I had gained a little bit of weight since my husband and I got engaged. Anyways, I tried butter, I tried soap, I tried everything, even oil. So after trying to get it off for an hour straight, my finger was 3 times bigger than it usually is. So at this point, I'm really scared that I'm going to have to get it cut off. Because 1, I didn't want to ruin it, and 2, it was really expensive. So I call my husband and he's like, "Oh, call your dad. Firefighters always know what to do." So I called my dad and thank God he lived 5 minutes away because he drove over really quickly. Like for part 2. 2 of how my husband accidentally told me that he was cheating on me. So like I said, my dad lived 5 minutes away, so he just rushed over to my house. And we tried a few more things to get it off. We tried Windex, we tried the dental floss, none of it was working. So my dad told me that we were going to have to cut it off with pliers. So he comes over with the pliers, cuts the ring off. Well, a few days later, I had taken it to the same place that we got it to get the band fixed. Or replaced. While I was there, I decided to get it appraised. Just for insurance reasons. So a few days later, I go and pick up my ring, and when I get home, I look at the appraisal. It was not the same one that I had picked out in the store. It looked exactly like it, but there was like a $20,000 price difference. So right now, I'm like, what the fuck? I'm not mad about the money part. I'm more mad that my husband lied to me. I was more upset about the fact that he had lied to me. So I had made dinner reservations for the next night, so that way I could hopefully bring up the conversation about it, like for part 3. Part 3 of how my husband accidentally told me that he was cheating on me. So like I said, I had made reservations for him and I to go out to dinner so that way I could hopefully spark up the conversation about it. So when we finally sat down, I had started up the conversation. I had told him that when I took my ring in to get it fixed, I also got it appraised. And his face immediately changed after that, but he wasn't saying anything. He was like, "Oh, okay, how did that go?" So at this point, I was tired of beating around the bush, and I was like, "Why wouldn't you just tell me if we were having money troubles?" And he was like, "What do you mean? We're not having any money troubles. I'm fine." One thing about my husband is that he is very wealthy, and he takes pride in the fact that he is very wealthy. So obviously, me right there kind of questioning his wealth, he fucked up and told me the truth. He was like, "Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I accidentally gave the ring that I was supposed to give you to a girl I was seeing at the time, and I just never got around to replacing yours." So fast forward to present day, I am currently moving all of my stuff out of our house and filing for divorce.
When I graduated high school, I met a guy who was a refugee from the Middle East. We ended up dating, but I found out he was cheating on me, so I broke up with him. Later on, I found out I was pregnant. When I told him, he freaked out and wanted me to get an abortion, and when I told him no, he said he'd do everything in his power to make sure I lost the baby. Once he figured out I was keeping the baby, he tried his best to get back with me, but I denied him. That's when I found out that the girl he was cheating on me with also got pregnant. When I tried reaching out to her, she called me crazy. I just wanted to warn her to make sure she's okay. Over the years, he kept trying to come back for me and the baby, but I kept him at a distance. His other girlfriend reached out to me and told me he went to jail because he put hands on her. I tried to warn the girl that he cheated on me with that he was no good, but it wasn't until her 3rd child that she finally saw his true darkness. She regrets meeting him and not listening to me, but then we found out he's engaged to someone back in his home country. We both tried reaching out to her, but she didn't want to hear any of it. We tried to tell her that he has 4 kids, 1 with me and 3 with someone else, but she didn't believe us. I know I've done my part for reaching out, but I still feel really bad for this girl and what her future entails. I don't know what I should do.
So this is my first story time, and it's about the moment that I knew my marriage was over. It wasn't the moment he put a password on his phone, or even the first time I caught him with another woman. It was the moment I came home, 1 week before we're supposed to have my family over for a big Thanksgiving dinner, and I come home to find he's installed a light-up stripper pole in our living room. Now, he claimed that it was his best friend's, And he had just put it up as a joke, but he wouldn't take it down. And whenever I would leave the house, the neighbors would call me and tell me about the women he was inviting over, who would coincidentally leave right before I get home. This was the moment that I realized that our marriage would never be fixed. I probably should have seen it a long time before that. There were a lot of other red flags, but I tend to run at red flags like a bull. So, here's another Resìn story time. So in June of 2017, my marriage had finally had enough. And after being together for 9 years, my husband moved out into an RV on his dad's property with his 19-year-old mistress. 3 months pass, and I'm making it on my own without him, paying bills, keeping my life together. Late September rolls around, and I get a message, but it's not from him. It's from his mistress. She's asking me what the Netflix password is, because I had changed it. The absolute audacity. I was paying for my own Netflix, with my own email account, and my own money, from my own job. She can have my husband, but there is no way I'm giving her my Netflix. That's where I draw the line. So I am a first grade teacher, but in my first year of teaching, I started off in a first grade classroom and got moved to a 5th grade classroom. In order to deal with this transition, which was very stressful, I started drinking energy drinks, at least one a day. And one day, a student brings me an energy drink, and I'm pretty jazzed. But my other students are freaking out. Turns out 20 out of my 24 students believed that Monsters were alcoholic, and that I had been drinking alcohol and teaching them for the whole year. And that's when I asked them if they thought I had been teaching them drunk since December. Why didn't they tell their parents, the principals, the police? And my 5th graders looked me dead in the eye and said, "Snitches get stitches, and they aren't narcs." It was an experience.